Hi guys, Like Bright here, and I thought we'd do a story time because I've been ill with allergies or a cold, I'm not sure. But I'm real stuffy and I don't want to record any of my game playthroughs with a stuffy nose and sound like congestion forever. I'm not having any luck streaming because I like to stream with my sister and her computer is out of commission for the moment. And along with me being sick, I just don't feel like sitting there for 3 or 4 hours streaming. So I figured we'd do a story time instead. Are story times still something that YouTubers do? I don't know. But we're gonna do one. And I thought I had an interesting one. And as most interesting stories go, it starts in Walmart. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Walmart story. If you know or don't know, if you're new, if you're old, I have chronic illnesses. And one of my chronic illnesses causes me severe pain. And I wake up every day in pain, and I pretty much stay in some amount of pain all day. And suffering from chronic pain is one of those things that really wears on you. Every single day is pain. And it's never, okay, well, if I sit a certain way, it's gone, or I walk a certain way, or I lay a certain way, stand a certain way. It's, you know, okay, well, I'm fine for about 5 minutes in this other new position, but then, you know, in about 5 minutes, I'm back to where I was before. So, the joys of that. This day, I was having issues related to some new symptoms that may be caused by some new diagnosis, diagnosis by some things that my doctor believes I may have, and I haven't got tested yet. Anyway, I was having a really bad day related to not only a lot of pain and stiffness that day, but some symptoms that I was having from other possible conditions that I may have at this time. And I live in Florida, and it was close to 100 degrees outside, and I think with like the humidity and everything, it was like 100 and something. So I was not doing good. And by the time we got up to the store, I was just like, honey, I have got to use the electric cart today. And I don't usually like to use the electric cart when I go to the store. I don't have a wheelchair of my own. I've only really gotten sick in about January I started getting sick, which means that I've only been dealing with this for close to a year and only had a real diagnosis for one of the main condition that is bothering me for a few months. So I don't have a wheelchair of my own, on top of the fact that they're expensive. So I use the electric wheelchairs when we go out, when I need to. And I don't like using them when I don't necessarily need to, or if I can avoid it. Just because when you have an invisible illness, part of it is that it's invisible. And so people see you. Most people won't really realize that you're ill. They assume that you're just fine. And on top of that, I'm chubby, guys. Oh my goodness. Chubby. People assume when you're looking fine, appearance-wise, I'm not missing a leg or have a cast on or anything like that. I wasn't wearing a mask or anything that would indicate that I was ill. And then on top of that, I'm overweight, and they see me in the electric scooter or the electric buggy or cart or however you want to put that. They don't think, oh, there must be something wrong with her. Maybe she sprained her ankle. Maybe she's sick. Maybe she has something that I can't perceive with my vision. And am I signing something? Am I signing something? Please tell me I'm not cursing in sign language by accident. I feel like this is a sign for something. If you speak sign language, please tell me if that's like a sign for something. Anyway, I was using the cart, and of course I'm getting the occasional look that you get when you use the cart in Walmart from certain people. And I can only imagine that certain people think I'm just being fat and lazy and using the cart, when in reality I can barely stand up straight, and even riding in the cart causes me pain, and the only reason I'm out is because I only get out once or twice a week sometimes less if I'm feeling bad, so I take any opportunity I can to get up and go to the store. And so one lady in particular seemed to take up a personal vendetta mission against me, and decided that she needed to prove I didn't need the cart. And every time we walked past this lady, or she walked past us, she gave me the nastiest glare. And this wasn't like, I think she's giving me a nasty glare. This is like, she's making eye contact every time we pass each other, to the point where there's a few times where she looks me up and down like, I don't see anything wrong with you. What you riding in the cart for? The only thing I can think is this lady thought she was being some kind of righter of injustices or something. I don't know who she thought I was hurting. There was plenty of carts that day, so there was not a lot of people in the store. So even if I was just a normal person being lazy riding in the cart, no one needed it, because there were plenty in the store that day and there was no one in the store. If I was a normal person, I would never ride in the cart unless I absolutely had to. Back before I got ill this past January, I would not use that cart unless I sprained my ankle, pulled my back, or something else, which those things actually related to my current diagnoses. Those things actually relate to my current illnesses, and I didn't realize that's what they were, but I would only use the cart then in those situations, and now I use the cart every so often when we go to town, and it's becoming a bit more frequently here recently with the development of new symptoms. But I'm not that kind of person that uses those carts, and even if I was, there were plenty of carts. There was no one in the store hardly at the time when we went, because we always go when there's nobody in the store. And whose place is it for her to be the person that steps in and tries to say whether or not someone is ill enough to be using the electric cart? Because trust me, I used to work at Walmart, that Walmart in particular, and I know that people use those carts all the time when they don't need them. In fact, the other day I went in the store with family, and one of my cousins, or cousin-in-laws, tried to get on the cart when I was getting a cart. And I told him, I said, look, if you don't need it, you don't get on it, because someone else could come in the store and need it. And I can only assume that that is what this lady was trying to do, was to prove that I was using the cart when I didn't need to. But I don't really think it was her place. If there'd have been someone walking around that was very elderly and she saw me like doing loop-de-loops in the cart, yeah, maybe she could have approached me and been like, hey, don't you think this person needs the cart more than you do or something? But that was not even what was happening. My partner and I was in the electric cart, and he was in front of me pushing the buggy. And we're walking down one of the main open aisles, not the tiny aisles with the groceries on it, but like the aisle that is like, that would be between the grocery aisles and the clothes, so it's this big aisle. But it's the one over in the grocery department, so it's got all the cooler bunkers in it. So like the cooler and freezer bunkers where you reach down in to get things. So we're riding in this wide, big aisle. There's hardly anyone in the store at this time. So there's no excuse for what she did. And then on top of that, what she did was clearly, obviously, designed to try to prove I was not sick or something. I don't know what she was thinking. as we're walking down this aisle, out of nowhere, the lady is like kind of behind me at an angle to the side. So she could have walked past us just fine, or walked really fast and got in front of us and cut over, or went this way, or done whatever she wanted to do with her life that doesn't involve me and my illnesses and proving that I'm not ill. I don't know what this lady was doing. But she speeds up enough that she's practically running with the buggy, and then veers left and cuts in front of my partner and stops her buggy, and my partner stopped the buggy just in time that the buggies tapped each other. And where she cut in front of him was not like, oh, I'm speeding up to cut in front of you guys because you're being slow and I need to take a turn. No, she cut in front of him when we were midway past a bunker, meaning had she continued in that direction, she would have rammed into the bunker side. She was not intending on turning in front of us. She was intending on slamming her buggy in front of us to try to do something. I don't know. Like, I don't want to say it was anything about race, because my partner and I are a mixed couple. I don't want to say that it has anything to do against people with invisible illnesses, because I'm sure if she'd have known that I had an illness, she would not have done what she done, especially the illness I have and what she did. But when she did this, it caused my partner to have to stop suddenly. And of course, I'm in the cart, and he was walking relatively fast, so I had the little buggy turn to full blast. And they don't go very fast, but they go fast enough. You get a little hair breeze, you know? But I was going, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, of course, the lady veers off in front of him. He stops. And I just let go because I'm like, oh God. And there's no brake on these things. So it takes them like, you know, a little minute to slow down and stop. So of course I'm thinking, oh God, I'm going to slam into him. I'm going to hurt his legs. I'm going to twist his ankle. I'm going to bruise him. And I was even thinking, I'm going to break his ankles or something with this cart. So of course, to get the cart to stop even faster, I'm not thinking about what it's going to do to me. I'm thinking, okay, I need to stop my partner from getting hurt. I flicked both my legs out, which hurt like hell because my knees were bothering me that day, and bending my knees is an issue. And I flicked my knees out and slammed my feet on the floor and like pushed to stop the cart even faster. I died. One of my hips popped out, one of my knees jerked to the side, one of my ankles twisted, my back, because when I stopped, my whole upper body like went forward over the handlebars, my spine hyperextended and then refracted really fast. I died. I'm just sitting here in pain. I'm about in tears. I'm confused with life. And my partner, of course, turns around and he's like, oh my God, are you okay? You had to stop really fast. You know, he's worried about me. He's not worried about this lady, because I don't think it registered with him what this lady did. But needless to say, she looks at me like, oh no. Like, I've hurt her. And I don't know if she realized that I was sick and she caused me pain because of my illness, or if she just thought she'd hurt somebody who wasn't sick. Like, I don't know. I mean, if I had been a normal person and that had happened, it probably would have just been annoying. It wouldn't have actually hurt me. But because of my illnesses and because of some of the illnesses that my doctor is thinking that I also have, I have these conditions and symptoms in my body where something like that to a normal person is nothing, and to me it's everything. Like I said, my hip popped out, my knee twisted, one of my ankles twisted, my back hyperextended and then jerked back, my arms were jerked, and my shoulders my whole body was already in pain, and now my body has just dislocated and disjointed and hyperextended and hyperflexed in wrong directions. And so of course my partner's not even concerned about this lady, and this lady just has this look of shock and shame on her face, and then just takes off, doesn't apologize, doesn't do anything. And then by the time my partner's done seeing if I'm okay, which I'm not okay, but as someone who has chronic illnesses, even if you're not okay, you're just like, I'm fine, just give me 5 minutes, you know, let me collect myself. But she was gone. She just took off. So, I don't know. Like, what was she thinking? What was she thinking was gonna happen? Like, I would just stop, and then I would jerk forward and be fine, and she'd be like, haha. I mean, if I had a different invisible illness, if I had cancer, if I had cystic fibrosis, I don't know if that would have necessarily hurt me like that. But because I have psoriatic arthritis and possibly some other conditions that my doctor is testing for, my body cannot handle that, like, jerking craziness. Because I also have hyperextension and dislocation and hyperflexibility and stuff, and my doctor's working on getting a diagnosis for all that. But because I already have all these issues with inflammation and dislocation and all this other problems, I was already feeling bad. My body was already on the edge, and she threw me over. This lady caused me physical pain because she felt a need to prove something or to disprove something. I thought this was going to be a funny story time, and now it's just becoming angry, ranty story time. Lesson today is, I don't know what the lesson is. I guess just, for the most part, mind your own business. I don't really know the lesson that would need to be taken from this, other than don't judge people by their outer appearances. You don't know what's going on, and unless it's quite obvious that they don't need an electric scooter, it's not really your business. If you suspect somebody doesn't need to be on an electric scooter and you're in a store and you think they're just riding it around for the heck of it and you have an issue with it, let an employee know, let a manager know, and let them deal with it. In this situation, she could have caused me massive physical harm. My body, my bones, my skeletal structure, and my muscles take damage different than a normal person. Depending on how my body is that day, how my inflammation is, how my joints are deciding to work, how my muscles are deciding to work that day, she could have caused me irreversible damage. It could have not just been, oh, I hyperextended and then refracted my spine. I could have fractured a bone in my spine had I had a vertebrae that was weak, that had weakened, and it was unknown to me. I could have dislocated my hip and it not pop back into place. Most of the time, I'm lucky, and when my joints dislocate, they pop back on their own, or they only partially dislocate and pop back on their own. I could have twisted my knee out of whack or my ankle out of whack. I could have done all kinds of things that would have sent me to the ER that day, just because she decided that she needed to prove or disprove that I didn't need the cart. The best thing I can tell you is, if you see someone in the store that you think is using the cart inappropriately, tell a manager and let them handle it. Because if they need the cart for other customers, they will get a cart from the customers who don't need it. For the most part, they let people use the carts because it avoids issues, and the only time they're going to approach someone is if a customer is in need and the other person is obviously just riding it around because they don't feel like walking, or they're just playing around like some teenagers do, racing the carts. Invisible illnesses are real. You don't see everything that's wrong with someone. You can't see the cancer in someone's body. You can't see my bones degrading from the inside. You can't see that my hips aren't sitting right in the sockets that day. You can't see that I'm running a fever because I stood outside for 5 minutes. You can't see that I'm about to pass out because I walked 5 feet in 98-degree weather. You don't see that unless I pass out, and then you would see me passed out. But that's not the point. That's not the point. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video for whatever it was worth. Stay safe, I love you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!